Have you ever found yourself wondering, why do relationships seem to move too fast? Or worse, fizzle out before they even begin? If so, you're not alone. Many of us navigate the complex waters of dating and relationships, often feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to connect deeply and quickly. But what if I told you that the key to building lasting connections lies not in rushing into it, but in taking a step back and thoughtfully assessing and collaborating your relationship dynamics? Today, we're diving into a conversation that promises to transform the way that you approach your connections. This discussion is designed to not only provide answers, but to empower you with the tools and insights that can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful relationship. So, whether you're currently dating, in a committed relationship, or simply seeking to understand the intricacies of human connection, join us as we uncover a way that we believe can help you navigate the journey of love with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Your relationship journey can be one your relationship journey can be one filled with joy and connection, and it starts here with this transformative conversation. Now, as we get into this, good to see you, Brother Gaddy, and welcome to the conversation. I'll bring you up here. Um, as we get into this, I think we've heard it all over social media. If you're with a person for X amount of time, then they should have proposed, or they should already be married, or whatever that looks like. Or something should have changed. You've heard that a man knows from the day that he meets his significant other whether she is going to be his wife. Um, so, what I want to do first is for everybody in the chat, I want you guys to kind of put in the chat and let us know, like, is there a timeline on dating? Like, I'm just curious. I really want to know. Like, what is, and if it is, what is a good timeline, if you will? If you don't believe there's a timeline dating, put that in there as well. I really want you guys to kind of give me your response when it comes down there. So everybody in the digisphere, I want you guys to kind of put that out there. For these young gentlemen right here, what I would like for you is to kind of help me to understand this. How do you think society's perception of relationships influence our tendency to rush into commitments?
Mm. So based off this question, are we assuming that people are rushing into commitments?
Well, either or, either or,
Um,
whether you believe they do or don't.
because in a way, I think it may be a little bit of opposite. But let me kind of talk it out a little bit first. Let me go back to the first part of it. So, how do I think society's perception of relationships influence? So, I'll just stop right there with the influence part. What we see and what we digest with our eyes and our ears determine or has a huge effect on our behavior and how we live out our life and how we perceive and our perceptions of relationships. So at some point, we were growing up, we have our mom, our dad, or one parent, or aunties, or uncle brigade, or staying with your grandma, your grandfather, whoever you live with, you get that perception of what a relationship is like. You have your peers, you have your aunties and their relationship with Uncle Bob. You have Uncle so and so, and he's married to Uncle so and so. I'm just saying, some of us got some of those in our family, and it is what it is. So you can see all different types of relationships, and the same thing goes on today with social media. We see red pill stuff. We've heard all of the Kevin Samuel stuff. We've heard the Steve Harvey stuff, and then we've heard everything in between when it comes to different types of relationships. And I think that sometimes people will rush into things because they have a certain perception on what a perfect relationship may look like, because that's what they're seeing on social media, right? So you see Steph Curry and his wife, and you say, "Oh yeah, they have a perfect relationship. I want to be like them." You see Beyonce and Jay Z, and you say, "Oh, I want to be like them." So sometimes these snapshots of people's lives is what people are looking at, and then they're saying, "Oh well, yeah, they're a couple goals," and so what they're doing is they're maybe rushing to try to get to something like that, bypassing red flags, bypassing people's immoral tendencies, just bypassing a lot of data and information that they see in people because they looking to have this so-called relationship based off how they've been influenced, based off what they've been seeing on social media and their perception of it. So I know I kind of was long, but that's kind of what I think.
Oh, no, no, no. You're good. I appreciate you unpacking that for us. Gad, before I turn it over to you, if you said yes in the chat, please add a little clarity. Kind of like what it looks like. Don't tell me what it don't look like. Tell me what it looks like. If you say yes, how long does that? What does that look like in your mind? Go ahead, bro.
And if you are going to go back like to that, I'd like to take a jab at that question too. If it's just for this chat, that's fine too. But um, after.
No, no, I appreciate that. First of all, good evening, brothers. Sorry for the tardiness,
Good evening. Good
Uh,
evening.
but man, it's good to be here. I love love to be here talking to my brothers. I know it. Um, whew. So this one is actually, believe it or not, it's kind of hard for me because I see concept when he says he thinks it's the opposite, but I also see the rush as well, right? Um, but I think it's just based upon what you digest and exposed to, right? But when we talk about uh, society's perception in 2024 going into 2025, I have to think about social media and and based on social media, you see some good, but you see so much bad, and I think sometimes hearing, oh, men don't do this. If you find a man that do this, you better keep it. You better snag him. You find a woman that can cook, you better snag her because women don't cook no more and all this other stuff. And all men should be doing this and women should be doing. So when we find something that seems close to the narrative of what right is supposed to look like according to society and social media, I think we're like, oh, I gotta grab it, I gotta hold it because this is the perfect one. This is the one for me. He he gave me money to get my hair done. I'm gonna be the next Mrs. Such as like we don't even know the person, but he dropped the bag, so we ready to get married. Like what? Wait wait a minute, you know. But we have this. A lot of us have this perception that everything can and will go wrong in relationships. So the infatuation process, I think, is intensified, or not process, but the infatuation moment in the relationship is intensified, and we mistake that for falling in love. And so I think that plays a part. But what is also real, just in case somebody views this podcast and they're a young military person, 'cause everybody on here right now was in the military. We know how that goes. I'm about to leave for basic training. I want to get married. I'm about to leave for deployment. I want to get married. I I want to. I'm coming up on orders, and I want you to come with me. Let's get married. You know what I'm saying? So it's these things. I think we and and it was in my generation when I was a young soldier. I'm pretty sure it was there before I got there. You know, but I think we've lost the process or the idea of allowing a relationship to stand the test of time. Sometimes, like it don't have to be a 30-year dating relationship, but hey, if she love you, he love you. Why can't y'all endure a year of this PTX, a year of disappointment, and come back and be just as strong or stronger? Because if you're afraid of them leaving because of a deployment or because you're going to Fort Campbell, then you know maybe the problem is already there, and we're hiding it because we just don't want to lose the person. Like Unc, I feel like I rambled on a little bit, but I hope I got to the answer or to the
No, I
question.
think I think you guys are spot on, and I appreciate it. Like, I mean, I get it. Everybody is so saturated with information that nobody knows what the truth is. And because of all of the information floating in the air, and you look at what's on social media, like Garfield mentioned, you look at what Big Mama and Papa did, and you look at what your best friend did, and you look at somebody who met on a dating app and they met last week and they're married now, and they've been married now for 10 years. All of this stuff kind of convolutes the space of like just decision making. And so when you look at it, society has a big influence on rushing into relationships and conditions. Now there are some extenuating factors. There are some extenuating factors to where there's some people out there who just don't know how to be alone. And so at the end of the day, when it comes down to moving from, I don't know, I just start real young, moving out of home and starting your life out, it's like, you got to be in a relationship. Got to be in a relationship. As soon as the relationship in, I got to get another, got to get another, got to get another. But why? Because you're kind of like more focused on the image, the external image, what it looks like. I think Miss Jordan says that if you don't get married, it's like society looks at you as an outcast. And I don't disagree with that assessment. Like I think that's that in some people's mind, they find out that you're single and they be like, what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? What, or you got divorced? Like, what did you do? So I think all of this information external to who you were called to be, who you're supposed to be, so forth and so on, all of that confuses the information pool. And because it confuses the information pool, on one side I want to talk about the Bible, on the other side I want to talk about what's on, TikTok. On one side, I want to talk about what the Bible said, and on the other side, I want to talk about, what they got on TV. I don't know, Desperate Housewives, whatever that looked like. I don't even know what them shows is. You know what I'm talking about? Those reality TV shows, man. Basketball Wives of Atlanta. There you go. That's one. Yeah, because at the end of the day, and I want to share a concept. I don't know if I'm gonna do it tonight, but I share a concept that I unpacked and uncovered that I really think will add a whole lot of clarity on this confused dating pool. But when you look at it, it's almost as though you will reject sound doctrine, wise counsel for the sake of wanting to be in the kind of like when we was in school. I want to kind of connect with the cool kids. You want to be one of those people that look at it and say, "Oh yeah, Garfield married, man. Yeah, him and Michelle. That's awesome. I want what they got though. I want what they got. You know what I'm saying? Instead of focusing on what they got, why don't you focus on what you're working on? And if you focus on what you're working on, then you don't have to worry about rushing and things of that nature. So I kind of want to just inject that because I'm with everybody, what everybody's saying. And I know you guys itching to get at this timeline question. So let me open the door, man. But wait, before we turn y'all loose, because I want to kind of bring to the table. I don't know if anybody gave me an answer. I seen a whole bunch of yeses though. Let me see. I love y'all. I just want y'all to know that before we get started. Crystal said absolutely not. Let's see. Miss Adrian Artist says yes. Miss Charlotte Jordan says no. Let's see. Miss Adrian Walthour says yes.
Mixed crowd.
Mixed crowd. Miss Nodella says yes. She said we're not called to date or court forever. Let me see. I don't think I've seen any more definitive answers. I see it. Yes, yeah, I told you. Now, don't tell me what it's not. Tell me what it is. Right? Yes, and not 10 to 20 years. I got that. What is it though? What is the timeline? But anyway, all right, fellas, let me open the door for you guys to kind of dive in on this. What do y'all think about that question?
You going first? I see you fan. I see you threw up the church thing. I didn't know if that meant you wanted to go first or.
I was pointing at you because I know you wanted to jump in there too first. So
Okay. All right.
right.
All right. So let's. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. You've heard all throughout social media, and that's what I'm leaning at because that's where most of the conversations come from, right? There should be a certain timeline when you're with somebody that they should do a thing. I really think the logic came from Beyonce. I'm just going to throw that out there, but I'll bring it back. There should be a certain timeline that you know something. Like when a man sees a woman, like he knows as soon as he meet her whether or not he's going to marry her. So your thoughts?
So are we speaking marriage or are we speaking
whichever one you want to
body?
Whatever one you want to talk.
All right, so
we're doing that tonight.
We're doing that tonight.
We're doing that tonight.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave the body stuff to the young boy over there, right? So since he the baby, he don't get to choose. I'm pulling rank. I'm pulling seniority. So I'm gonna talk about marriage, or I'm going to talk about that long term being marriage. I think what it boils down to the first thing it boils down to is intentionality. When those two people first start having that conversation day one, they need to be on the same sheet of music as far as what the end goal is. Day one, day one, not day two, not day three, not date number 7, not 3 months down the road. Day one, you need to decide with that person if y'all want the same end goal. If your end goal is to be married, his end goal is just to be a long-term partner, it ain't going to work. Y'all end goal is not the same. So first of all, it comes down to, do y'all have the same goal? Right? So first of all, let's say now y'all have had that conversation. The end goal is to be married. Both people want to be married. After that, we talk about it. What is our timeline for it? Are you speaking, hey, I want to be married within a year, and then other person is speaking, hey, 5, 10, whenever, after we get this, whenever. There's really nothing set in stone as far as when we want this thing to happen. So I think that those people have to agree on those two things. So my answer is this. One, y'all need to agree on the end goal. And 2, you do need to agree on a timeline. Whatever the timeline is, you both need to be in agreements on it. Because what happens a lot of times is there is no talk about the end goal, and then there's no talk about the timeline. If you do have a talk about the end goal, then people end up staying engaged for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. One person wants to be married, one person is still unsure. You can avoid that by having those conversations very early on in the relationship. So those are my answers. I do believe there should be a timeline, but I do believe that timeline should be agreed upon between the two parties.
Ooh, well, I would have a rebuttal, but since he told me I got to talk about the body, you know,
You can rebuttal, or
my,
you can talk about the body, brother. This is not my world.
I know, but I kind of do want to get after the body thing because that is a hard pill to swallow. Should there be a timeline? Yes, based upon the timeline that Uncle was talking about. Now, why do I say? I know we live in 2025. We shouldn't be talking about abstinence, but I'm going to because at the end of the day, I have not, I have not been in a relationship, whether it was dating, friendship with another sex or whatever, and and the physical didn't change the relationship. Sometimes if it's good, you might rush into the marriage part because y'all feel so fall in love. We fell in love. We made passionate love to each other and all this other good stuff. And I'm so in love. All right, yeah, you get men and women get mesmerized by what the other person has if we feel it was good, right? It's just what it is, right? We can play macho all we want, but and it goes both ways. So I think that that has to be a part of the conversation again because we have to stop complicating the process of courting or dating, as Nadella said, courting or dating. We have to stop rushing that process for the sake of keeping what feels good because it feels good while when the lights are off, but do we get along when the lights come on? Right? And we don't know that. And so I do hear what Nodell is saying about the 1 year thing she put out there. And my whole concept is we could talk about the biblical principles, but we have to get back to the biblical culture before we can actually insert that principle of is it absolute 1 year because we're talking about arranged marriages with women that were raised a certain way and men who were raised a certain way. We ain't raised the same. I don't know. I know you look good And I know you talking a good game right now, but I don't know how your mom and your daddy raised you. They might have messed you up in the head. And after that 1 year go past, and I start seeing the true you, and I don't like it. What if that happens, right? So I think this whole timeline period, it has to be. We have to begin to get genuine with each other through the courting process, through the dating process, whatever you want to call it. Because as long as we're not genuine, we're not giving the other person a fair option to choose whether they want to be with us or not. We're giving them half the time what they want to see. Oh, I want a man who's strong, so I walk around with my chest out all the time. I want a man who stands up for me, so I act jealous, so she think I'm a fight for her. Like whatever that may look like. I want a man with money, and if I got money, I can mesmerize you with the dollars and be treating you however I want to treat you. We have to get to knowing the real person. The timeline is when you are sure. The timeline is not based upon the year. It's when you are sure. First of all, uh, do we have the same end goal, and do we believe the same thing? Do we believe? Because are we going to go in the same direction? If we can grow together and we can benefit each other spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and heck, and financially, I guess. Can you bring a benefit to me? Can I bring a benefit to you more than the bedroom? Then we can have a conversation about a time. That's how I feel about
I like that. Well said. Well said, there, young Thundercat. I like that. I'm with you. I think the timeline thing is a fallacy. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying that doesn't start day one. That starts when there's some information revealed in our environment about each other, right? And that goes back to what Gaddy just said. Do we have the same belief system? Are we moving in the same direction? Do you have the capacity to actually help me carry this water that I've been called to carry? That's the other side. That's to me, that's the deciding factor. If you can't carry this bucket, you ain't her, right? I think too many times we focus on the length of time, how long, as opposed to being that person that someone wants to marry, right? And I think when we do it that way, as opposed to when we do it putting a timeline on it, well, there's no requirement on me to improve myself in the midst of that. But if I don't put a timeline on it, now I have a requirement placed on me that I have to continue to grow and develop, so forth and so on. That's really what Proverbs 31 is all about. When he found his bride, she was already supposed to look like a bride, not working to become bride. So when we start talking these timelines, there is no set thing that says, oh, well, I'm a Proverbs 31 one. According to who? Who told you that? I'm just being real. Because if he is the one that's supposed to ask you to marry him, should he not see Proverbs 31 in you when he looks at you? So I think that's the thing. And let's just be honest. Sometimes we just make bad decisions. You made a bad decision. You selected the wrong person. Let's be adults, high five, whatever, dap it up, and move on amicably. But I think too many times what we do is we look at wasted time, lost. You don't own time. Stop it. You don't own time. Time does not belong to you. So at the end of the day, you didn't waste time on anyone. You learned something about yourself. And so when you look at it from that perspective, that you learned something about yourself, well, one of the things that you should have been learned is not to blame that person for the relationship not working. So when we start talking about these timelines and all these other things, I think it tends to muddy the water because there is no responsibility on me if I say the timeline is the thing that we focus on from day one. And oh yeah, Cassandra hit it right where I was going to go. Like I'll show you whatever it is you want to see. Who's that? John Cena? John Cena used to do that right there. I'll show you whatever it is you want to see in the beginning. And then once I get to this stage, then it comes off. You're like, wait, hold up. I didn't sign up for that. I don't know who you are, because you're not the person I met 6, 7 months ago. Whatever happened to the kindness and all that other stuff you was doing? Oh well, that no. So yeah, we gotta kind of move outside of the notion of what society is talking about, because really society is just leading you down a rabbit trail, and that's one of the reasons, in my opinion, why we got so many divorces. It's just my thoughts, though.
Yeah. So when I was talking about those day one conversations,
Mhm.
they were not to focus on the timeline, but to have the conversation about it. So if me and Shell meet day one, right? And and I say, hey, look, this is our first date, you know, if it was even a blind date or whatever like this. And I say, hey, look, I want to be married. You know what I'm saying? And she says, I want to be married too. Right. And then we both agree that we want to be married. All right, boom, we can continue on because we both want the same end goal. And then after that, I say, hey, I want to be married within, I'm trying to finish up college, whatever like this. I want to be married within the next 3 to 5 years. And then Shell says, well, you know what? I want to be married someday, but I don't really know when. Maybe in my 30s or whatever like this. I want to live life. I want to travel the world. But now they're not lined up. So it's not that I'm necessarily focused on the timeline. It's just more so that the projection for our life and what we want to do during those timelines don't necessarily line up. So for me, I don't think that we should be continuing on with even a second date because we're not in agreement with those. So then once we're on agreement with those two things, if we are in agreement, then I think we can start working towards any and everything else. Then we can start talking about, is she a Proverbs 31 wife? Am I a man of God? And, can she follow the God that's inside of me? That's later on we can start having those conversations. But I think on a general level, we have to agree on some certain things, when it comes to the relationship, as far as what we want out of the relationship, especially if we are, a lot of people here are, maybe into church or maybe saved and different things like that. You can look, you can get the directions, you got access to the directions. So that's just kind of a little add on to what I wanted to say if I
Yeah,
wasn't clear the first time.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think I
Mm-hmm.
would for me, it's flipped, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
because I think and here's why I say the most important thing. First of all, the most important thing is that we believe the same thing. Because if 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 I'm trying to lead my family here and you're not trying to go here, then I'm leading nobody, and now I'm living a fruitless life as a husband because
Mm-hmm.
I can't lead, train, teach, or bring up my family in the word because we don't believe the same thing. That's one. But secondly, all that other information can change with time. If I meet you at 20 and we say we want to go the same directions and we date till I'm 22 and we ain't married or engaged yet, that might change. We might, I might have got with you and say I don't want to commit unto marriage. I'm only 20, and then in 21, I'm like, then again, I do. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like sometimes those things can change. Even at 40, I might be exposed to some things that changes the direction of my life, or that changes what I want to do professionally or whatever that looks like. And you may or may not want to go there with me. So, but I think when we have the ground, to me, the ground level, the foundation level should be, if we believe the same thing, then I think we can toughen out through these changes. We can work through these changes because we're holding fast to the same hope.
So are you saying that maybe they shouldn't have a conversation about what they want out of the relationship until later on down the road?
Not have the conversation. That's fine of what you want out of the relationship and out of life, but that shouldn't be the factor of whether or not I go on or not. Not the sole factor, because those things can change.
But if you, okay, I get that, but I don't at the same time. Well, actually, I'm just trying to understand your perspective. So I think that if I don't, I understand people change, but if we're starting off and we're not even having a conversation about what we want out of the relationship, then I think you start off having a relationship with unclarity, and people are not necessarily sure about what the other person wants out of the relationship.
So when you say want, are you specifically talking about I want marriage? or I
Yeah,
don't
because
want
I
marriage.
thought that's what we were talking about, at some point, during a relationship, does it, like leading up to the marriage.
Yes, but here's the thing: if what we believe is the same thing, and I'm coming from this, and you coming from this, then my intentions should be clear according to the scriptures, in a sense. Now, maybe how that looks to me, right? I mean, I feel like if I'm dating you, everyone that I'm dating or that I'm talking to, I'm looking to see a wife in you, right? I'm looking to see the potential of marriage. Don't mean I want to get married tomorrow. It just means that the person that I am spending time with, I do intend to, because we believe the same thing. We ain't finna just be sitting here having kids and then break up in 10, 20 years because I never put a ring on it, right? Like Coach brought up to Beyonce, if you like it, then you should have put a ring. Well, maybe so after a while, but when we start talking about, do I want marriage out of the relationship? I want marriage out of a relationship. Is it this one? We get to know each other and then we can make that decision.
If I may, if I may, because I'm loving the. I don't really think they're opposing perspectives. I think they're really the same perspectives that happen at different stages in the connection. So I don't think, and this is just me. I think relationship is an environment, right? It's an environment that two people create. And when we look at it from that perspective, it's not what I get out of it, it's what I put into it. And so at the end of the day, when we come together, we create an environment that looks like harmony if both of us are putting into it. That's what that time prior to the quote unquote marriage, whatever the case may be, that's what that looks like. Understanding whether or not we can create that environment where we both put into it. When we go into certain things, poor man, Dr. Phil, I'm going to need you to act all right over there. You're showing off. When we go into things, looking what I can extract from it, then it kind of gives the wrong perspective. And then from that perspective, the relationship per se between these two people are tainted. So a relationship is an environment where both people are putting into, right? So now moving forward from there, what both parties are or should be doing is making sure that they are the individuals who are healthy enough for a relationship. That man has to understand what he is doing and where he extracts his information from, as well as that woman. So when they do meet, I'm not looking to have a conversation with you day one about this is what I'm looking for, blah, 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 blah. It sounds like, and I don't even know what them things called when you go speed dating. It sounds like speed dating, right? But what I am looking to understand day one is, can you follow the leader? That's really what it is. At the end of the day, do you understand and can you follow a person who has been given something that is more meaningful than what they perceive their job or anything else can do with their own hand? If that is within the scope of understanding in the beginning from day one, now we can move forward. And in that moving forward, we're getting to learn one another because, again, I can't see everything in one day. So once I lay all my cards on the table day one and say, hey, this is what I want, blah, 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 I just gave you the blueprints on who you need to be moving forward. That's not who that person is. Day one, you're not even meeting the real person day one. So that's why I say I think you guys are having the same conversation. You're just having it in two different areas of time. I'm agreeing with Gaddy. I need to understand this is your belief system. This is what you're capable of doing. This is your perspective of this, so forth and so on. But then later on down the line, once I identify clearly that you look just like this and you have clearly identified so forth and so on in me that I have a calling, I'm moving towards that calling and no one can move me off that square, not even her. Now that's something totally different. So now when she identifies that, I am the person that the minute that I turn around and say, will you? She automatically say yes before I even finish. So I think that's the thing. And that's why I said I don't think you guys are having different conversations. It's really the same conversation. You were just talking about it from two different lenses of time.
All right, I got some
Or,
more.
or not.
I don't know. So I'm listening. I heard you say things like following, and you follow, learning one another. in the relationship, the belief system. Um, does the, kind of like, does this person look like a wife? Or this person look like a husband? So, okay, let's say for instance, you're in this relationship and you're talking and these things are lining up, right? And then all of a sudden, the conversation comes up about marriage, and you say, "Hey, look, um, I'm thinking about, I don't know, say for instance, you even propose, and then now you down there on one knee, and she like, whoa, wait, I ain't trying to get married. My parents were divorced and grandparents were divorced. It's like we could have avoided this day one if I knew you did not want marriage to be an outcome. So I guess that's where I'm still stuck on not even having a relationship with someone that if I know I want marriage, I don't even want to get in it, have a conversation with someone who marriage is not the end goal. So that's why I go back to the day one and having that conversation about not am I going to marry you specifically, but do you specifically want to be married? Do you want marriage to be your end goal? And if we don't want the same end goal, we don't need to have a conversation. So that's why I'm not understanding why it seems like you guys are wanting to have a relationship and start building and then have a marriage relationship when in the end you guys may not even want the same thing. So that's why I'm trying to may it seem like I'm trying to beat this thing down.
No,
It's
you're
because
good.
I'm really trying to understand it from a different perspective.
You're good. I think as I listened to you say what you just said, I heard a lot of assumptions, right? The first assumption is that I didn't want marriage. That was the first assumption. I just didn't say that's not what we're going to talk about day one. So that's the first part. And I think that's what people do a lot. They assume just because the conversation wasn't had, that it's totally and completely off the table. And that's why I said be the person that a person would marry as opposed to having a conversation about marriage. Because at the end of the day, to have a conversation about a thing means absolutely nothing if you don't have the behavior to support the conversation that you're having. That's the thing. Just because a person says a thing does not necessarily mean that that's what they believe. A lot of times people say things because that's what they want you to believe, that that's what they believe. You will never know what a person believes until their behavior shows up. Once their behavior shows up, that is the truth. Believe that. So that's why I say having that conversation day one does absolutely no good, because at the end of the day, I don't even know anything about you yet. I don't even know whether or not you have the capacity based upon your behavior to even be in this particular conversation. So we're not going to have that conversation day one. We ain't ready to have that conversation day one. Then moving forward, I think the second assumption was that day one I meet you, we building. No, sir. You don't get the keys to the castle on day one. I'm sorry. That goes back to what I just said. At the end of the day, I need to see the behavior that says that lines up with what you said at the dinner table when we were talking to get to know one another. So now this is where the time kicks in. Once I see the behavior lines up with the things that you are saying, and you are progressively developing from there, and then you ask that so important question that we talked about last week: how can I help? Where can I fit in to help you carry this water? That's a whole different ball of wax right there. Now I can start giving you a key. You may not get in the front door, it might get you in the back door, right? So it's going to take some more, right? Then I give you the front key. Then I give you see what I'm saying? So it's not, that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. It's not that I'm saying that what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying that doesn't happen on day one. That happens later.
So when I know it's not a time,
Absolutely.
but
I was just about to say it.
at what point in the relationship do you have it? And then what happens if y'all don't want the same thing?
Then leave. It's simple. I don't listen. I don't believe like everybody else believe, right? I don't believe that, oh, I wasted 2 years of my life, hanging out with Tamika. Remember, Tamika and Tyrone are my go-tos, right? Hey, I wasted 2 years of my life hanging out with Tamika. No, I learned something about myself over the past 2 years, and Tamika taught me a lot of lessons that I needed to learn. So that's why I keep saying when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So if we decide that, hey, and trust me, it works both ways. Maybe she wants marriage, or maybe he ain't ready for it yet. That's okay. Maybe at the end of the day, he's seeing that, hey, we're spinning our wheels right now. You keep saying this, but this is what I keep observing, right? So at the end of the day, count our losses. Go our separate ways. Still be friends. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But to get to the point day one and listen to that foolishness, that Beyonce theology, right? That says if you like it, then you better put a ring on it. No, if I like it, I'm gonna buy a cheeseburger. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm serious. I'll buy you lunch. I'll buy you dinner if I like it. But I'm not looking for likes. That's social media. I'm looking for somebody who fits the bill, right? What's the bill? The bill of what relationship mandates. Everybody has a responsibility in a relationship, not somebody coming into a relationship saying, hey, your job is to take care of me. Your job is to do this. Your job is to do that. Focus on your job and let me focus on my job. If you focus on your job, you ain't got enough time to tell me what my job is because you're busy trying to get a very good understanding of your job.
Boom.
I like to I like to say in the space of using coach's characters, I was Tyrone once, right? And I remember when I was Tyrone, and Tamika told me she didn't want to be married, and knowing that that was my end goal of dating and getting in relationships at the time, right? I said, yeah, me either, because I thought that I could woo her into what I wanted, you know. I thought that I can, blah blah blah, and if I don't, hey, I might get to another goal. So no love lost, right? That's how I thought. I was about 21, 22. So you know don't judge me. But that's how that's how twisted things can become. So if I come on day one and say I because I want to be honest and I'm gonna tell you I don't want to get married. So just letting you know before you get into this, she might say yeah me either, but all along she's trying to you know wooed me into the idea, and then here we are later on down the road, and she's trying to guilt me into marriage because we've been together for 2 years. But I said I didn't want marriage, and vice versa. You get so so that is a conversation to have, but that day one conversation, a lot of times people meet that person day one, and they only thing they focus on is getting to know that person, and so they some of them agree with whatever you say, just so they don't lose the opportunity to date you or talk to you or whatever, just to say that they had you. So I don't disagree that it's definitely a conversation need to be had, but that's why I say it's not a day one.
I just looked up and see what time it was, man. Good night. we,
Oh,
Yeah.
we've been on this
I'm
one.
on day one. I'm having a
That's
conversation
what's up, man. I'm not telling you not to, bro.
because I ain't waiting 3 months and then now we had a conversation and when I knew if because some people know they do not want to be married
Mhm.
and some people know they do want to be married. Now, whether or not, and that's really the only thing that I'm talking about. Not that I'm going to marry you, because you might not be the person. But I just want to know if that's even something that you want. Do we agree on the end goal? And that's my only thing. I don't even want to start a relationship, a podcast, get into bed, not literally with anybody who we don't have the same end goal even in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still I still don't I understand y'all perspective. I do. I understand it. I don't agree with it.
That's fine.
I think it I don't know. I just think that it can cause you to waste time, especially if you know that if that person never had the intention of being married anyway and you did, then you've wasted all of this time. And y'all could have found out day one, this is not what I want, So that's why I think, life is short. So many people out here, and I get people be lying, people be putting their best foot forward. I get all of that stuff. I get it. You know
And
what
that's
I'm saying?
that's
But
the
I
other
think
side of it,
people are
right?
pretty truthful about what their end goal is, especially day one, when I don't even know you. You know what I mean? I think people kind of pretty open about what they want. But I don't know. I ain't been on a dating scene
That's
in
what I'm about to
10
say.
years.
I
You know what
don't.
I mean? So I might be out the loop. I
No,
got a
no.
ring on it. You know what I'm matter of fact, I got two of them on right
Is he
now.
really quoting Beyonce right now? So yeah,
Hey,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Jill put a
I,
ring on it.
I can't. And y'all know me. My philosophy is that I don't say things for people to agree. I say it for them to consider, right?
Yeah.
And I'm okay with people disagreeing with me. Like I know for a fact, probably half the chat disagree with me, and I'm good with
The
that.
other half probably
Right?
disagree with me.
Right. And here's the funny part about it: I'm
Yeah.
good with it.
Yeah.
I'm good with it because at the end of the day, for me, and I have to stress this piece, and then we need to move on because we ain't even knock
No
a
pressure
dent in this conversation.
on.
Listen, we ain't even knock a dent in this conversation yet.
It is, and Roland ain't even here. Well, he here.
Right.
He here acting up in the chat.
Yeah, man. Stop distracting people out there. No, I'm joking. But here's the thing: like, if it's rooted in doctrine or is it rooted in fear? Those are the two perspectives that I have to consider. Because when you hear a lot of this information on social media, it's rooted in fear. I don't want to do this for this long and then this happened. That's fear. Well, I don't want this person to blah 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 blah. That's fear. Well, I don't want this person to take advantage of me. That's fear. All of that is fear-based connection. And when I start a thing off with fear-based connection, I guarantee it's going to end. Simply because now I am going to start believing things and seeing things through the lens of the fear that I now have in our connection. So every time you go out and you stay just a little bit too long, what took you so long to come from the store? That store 5 minutes down the road. Why it took you an hour to come back? You see what I'm saying? Those are fear-based connections. And so when that starts setting in, it has absolutely no bearing on the conversation that we had day one. Those people, when you see connections like that, leave, because there is no possible way that you're going to win, because you will now be under that person's control based upon the fear that they have from this point of view. Oh, you got a work husband. It's going to be, oh, you got a work wife. Why y'all always going to lunch? No, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, I refuse to live in fear when it comes down to any connection that I have. So if that's what you do, you got your work husband, good on you. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to see, like, man, he ain't really he ain't concerned. No, none whatsoever. That's what you do you. Now, it wasn't always that way. I'm gonna tell you the truth. My younger years, oh no, bro. But yeah, man, that's just my thing. Like, we got to get away from this fear-based notion of connecting and assuming that the thing that we connect with is going to work. Because other than that, what that other person going to end up doing is walking around on eggshells. That's not a relationship, right? It's a relationship of some sort, but not the relationships that we're talking about. Listen, I think you're right, Agent. I think we may have to do a part 2 on this. Listen, I appreciate everything you guys putting in the chat. You was
They
like
live over there tonight. This thing just moving. They scrolling. I think we hit a hot topic tonight.
I mean, but I appreciate all of them. Just keep them coming. As we see
the like
them,
button, share.
Absolutely hit that like button. Go ahead and share it. If you haven't hit the like button, I don't care what platform you're on, go ahead and hit the like button. Listen, I want to kind of inject some new information tonight if I can, because at the end of the day, I think this carries a great deal of it will, I think it will help, but we'll see as we continue. So tonight we're going to talk about relationship calibration. And so relationship calibration is a dynamic process that involves like regularly assessing and adjusting the emotional and communicative dynamics within a relationship to ensure both parties are aligned with their expectations, not the expectation I have with you, but the expectations I have on myself in the space of this relationship. My desires and comfort levels as well. This concept emphasizes the importance of ongoing dialogue and reflection, allowing individuals to navigate the complexities of their connections thoughtfully and intentionally. Engaging in relationship calibration can lead to a deeper connection. It also increases satisfaction, and it also reduces feelings of regret. It empowers individuals to take an active role in shaping their relationship, fostering a culture of mindfulness and intentionality. There are 6 aspects of it. 1 is continuous assessments. 2 is mutual feedbacks. 3 is alignment of expectations. 4 is emotional awareness. 5 is adaptability. And 6 is conflict resolution. So I kind of want to inject that information because as you're listening to it, it really sounds like a space where 2 people are constantly communicating and objectively sharing information and responding to the information that they're sharing with one another as well as regulating their emotions in the space of those conversations that are actually happening. So, after hearing all that, right, what I want to do is kind of put this out there. Do you think relationship calibration could change the way we approach connections? If so, how?
I remember in the Army, actually in elementary school, right? So for some of us old folks over 40, we used to have to take a fitness test. And then they could do the push-ups or like the pull-ups. We used to have to we used to have to do a couple different things. And one of the things that we used to have to do was the V-sit. We had to do a bunch of different exercises. One of the things they did, they also gave us height and weight, right? So they used to weigh us. So what they used to do is bring up these big old long these big old long scales, right? And they had the little things across the top and they be slatted and stuff. But before they did that, they had to calibrate it. So the reason why they calibrated, so when 65-year-old got up on the scale, it actually was 65 pounds, right? I'm talking, third grade, fourth grade, I don't know, right? So what they did, they took like a 20-pound weight and they put it, something that they knew was actually 20 pounds. They put it on the scale and they made sure that they made sure that the scale actually read 20 pounds. They calibrated the scale. So when we speaking about everything was coach was talking about, and one of the things that really looked that I wrote down was adjustments and assessing. So, do I think relationship calibration could change the way we approach new connections? Absolutely. Just like that scale, if the scale is off and the scale had been calibrated, it's going to change it's going to change the weight that's going to be outputted once someone steps on the scale. The same thing in relationships. When you make adjustments, when something goes on in a relationship, good, bad, or indifferent, or you're having constant conversations, you're having feedback, you guys are discussing, not just bills, not just those things, but how are you? Like literally, how are you? Are you getting enough of the things that you need from me? How is our relationship? How do you think the relationship is going? Like asking these deep questions, these intentional questions that cause people to really have an understanding about how the other person sees themselves inside of the relationship. So I think that constant calibration, having these open conversations, getting this feedback from each other, again, keeping the relationship first. Someone wrote it in the chat earlier, so I already saw that. So shout out to whoever wrote that in the chat. But I think that's how, at the end of the day, do I think relationship calibration could change the way we approach our relationships? Absolutely. And that's how. Continue to make adjustments, assessments, having that communication, having that feedback. All of those things are going to directly affect how balanced or imbalanced your relationship is going to be. Put that back to the scale.
For a moment, like whenever we do something new that actually works or can works for a while. But when we're dealing with people in relationships in America in 2024, I come to the realization, like Dr. House used to say, or Gregory House, everyone lies. Right? That's what he says. I'm not gonna say everyone, but I'm gonna say people lie. People learn the tricks of getting the results that they want after a while of seeing the thing. So I think like as a new thing, yes. I think after a while, people will learn how to lie for the results they want. It's kind of like counseling, right? A lot of us in the military went to counseling to get help, and some of us got diagnosed with PTSD, and it's kind of like a blueprint to the PTSD, but a lot of us did. You didn't don't know it. The therapist knows it, but after a while, a few people go into it. You start telling your battle buddies what they need to do and say. You learn how to cheat it to get the results you want, and that's how I feel about doing a relationship calibration because you can see. and we can say this is where you're at. This is where your emotional balance is at. This is where you know, and that's cool. Whatever those matrix. I don't remember everything you said. Uh, but wherever those metrics are, after a while, when I know the results I want to see out of them, I'm and not me. I'm just saying, but I'm now capable of altering my answers, altering my responses in order to get the result from it that I want. And in doing so, I'm lying to myself, and the relationship stays exactly where it's at. So, so I guess I got a two-way answer for it. So yes, it can work, um, but I don't think any relationship should do it more than once. So that this way it should be something that they do, they see, and then you work. Does that make sense?
I
That
think
Nope.
I was trying to hear. Did you say they shouldn't do it more than once?
yes.
Okay, I gotta I
Mm.
gotta pull out my Lee Corso hat on you real quick.
Mm.
I,
Not so
I,
fast, my friend.
I
Um,
don't like you get familiar with it.
well, let me, because
Yeah, because I'm over here gnawing at the bone.
I'm with Unc on this one, and here's why I say there's an old saying that say you need to inspect what you expect. And if we understand that part to be true, if there has to be a like, I know we like to talk about, well, what we expect from our partners, but really in the space of relationship, it should be what I expect from me, what I expect about me, how I expect to show up in the space of relationship. So then when my behavior happens, I have an expectation of my behavior in the environment. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, like it, don't like it, whatever that looks like, that's the information I'm going to get in return. So when we start having these conversations, when we start bringing observations to the table, and this is the result of it, that allows for each person to make micro adjustment for the sake of improved relationship over time. If I just do it one time, then the issue with that is all of that information will be lost, and then no version of a habit can form based upon that first blast of information. But if I do it periodically, and I just and I hate to turn relationship into project management 101, but I can, right? Um, if I was to do it every quarter, right? So every quarter we got a calibration session where we sit down, and this is the work that both of us intentionally do for the sake of our relationship. And we're going to talk about each different part, right? So, what does communication look like, and how has it been over the past couple? And I'm just using this as a blanket conversation, right? How has communication been? Well, it's cool. I remember one day you was like a little angry. You got off work. You kind of lost your temper with me. Okay, cool. I got that. What did I say? Like, so now we're having these conversations, right? And again, I get it within the scope of the lines of the conversation. We got to be careful because there can be manipulation, like Lisa Keys said, right? However, if you identify the behavior of the individual that lines up with what that person said who that person said they were, then ideally I should have to worry about being manipulated from a person like that. She should not have to worry about being manipulated from a person like me, a person who tries to 100% be exactly what they say, but will admit when they are not that, right? Um, if we do that periodically, then what you'll have is an environment to where we are helping each other improve themselves. It's not about you improving me, it's me giving you valid feedback based upon my observation with zero judgment. That's the key. We got to learn to pull the judgment out the thing, and because we like to tie the feelings to it. I feel like, or I felt like, no, 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 no. The observation was this. This is what you did, and then let that person do with it as it may. Go ahead, Garfield.
Yeah, so I'm like that. I don't think just one time. I think in a perfect world, just like, don't take this the wrong way. Just like we want to be able to tell our kids one thing and then it's done and it's over with. I want to tell my wife something one time and then it's done and over with. She want to tell me something one time and it's done and over with. The reality of relationships is that they grow, they evolve. People grow, people change, people evolve. Life happens. Once at time it's just y'all two. Then there's one kid. Well, life changed, and now there's two kids. Life changed. We've grown up. Sometimes we grow apart, sometimes we grow together. So I think having those regular assessments are very, very valuable. I don't think it's a one-stop shop to where you can say, hey, we're going to have this conversation and then we never deal with it again. Another thing, I appreciate this brother for his response. James Samuel, he says, when it needed talk about, it shouldn't be mandated. I disagree. I think that, maybe for certain relationships, I get that. But in my relationship, I think it's mandated. Well, it's not mandated. I will take that back. It's not mandated. What it is both parties want to come to the table to have the conversation so they can understand more about each other and see where they may be lacking in a relationship or how they can grow to be a better person for the other person or for the relationship. So I understand maybe it's not mandated, but I do think that having some structure and carving out some time for a couple to have these conversations periodically are very valuable to the relationship. Just like in the military, we do something, we have an AAR, we go back and we assess it, we see what's going on. These meetings, these conversations are about being proactive so we don't have to be reactive
Yes,
when
sir.
stuff start hitting the fan. I'm trying to be proactive.
Can you guys hear me? Miss Austin said I was chopped up a little bit. Okay,
I hear
just
you
want to make sure.
fine.
Okay, just
Yeah, I
want to
heard
make
you.
sure. No, go ahead.
No, so I hear what y'all saying, but so
Look, now you out there by yourself.
that's not it. Hey,
Yeah, let's
it's
roll with it.
me and my paddle.
Get it, brother.
uh, so I get it, right? So all right, we do this relationship calibration. The next session or quarter later, I don't think it should be a calibration. It should be a review, right? That's different. I think that's something different, right? It's like what?
Well,
Unlike a
you
weapon,
well,
right?
you,
So
you may
you
not have
go,
to change nothing. Y'all may be good. It may be something very minute or maybe nothing.
But here's why I'm agreeing
that,
with him. I think it starts with the review from the last conversation.
Absolutely,
So there's
absolutely.
nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
then there was
yeah,
still behavior that took place since the last conversation up to now. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. And so I get that, right? And so yeah, we have to the conversation. I think that should be the conversation starter of where do we go and what do we do. Uh, but when we oversaturate a process, and it's just maybe it's just how I view it, or maybe it's just me. But I think when we oversaturate a process, we make it manipulate. I don't even know what I was about to say is actually a word. I'm glad Roland ain't on here to correct me. So I'm not gonna say it anyway because it don't sound good.
No, I think I get what you're saying. I think what you, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think that you get, because I know exactly how it is. We all from being in the military, we all been NCOs. We know how we go to that sync meeting and it's good. And the next thing you know, everybody having sidebar conversation. We all off task. People just out there spitballing, just doing the numbers because I get that. And if it turns into something like that, then y'all need to be readjusting and defining what we're here to be here for. Maybe we don't necessarily need to really have a conversation every quarter. We've been doing good for years. Or maybe we continue on to do it. You know what I mean? Maybe we take this time and we adjust it. Where now we're gonna review, we're gonna, have some fun for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna go and do something else. I mean, you can adjust it, but you can still get the job done. How it looks is very up to the couple.
Right.
But the main thing is just whether you call it calibration, whether you call it adjustments, whatever you call it, the main thing is that couples need to check in from time to time to kind of see where everybody is at in the relationship.
Right. And I think I know we like to, and I hate to use this idea, but we like to create this fantasy in our head and say, oh, we're going to talk all the time. Sure, you're going to talk about all the time, and you're going to talk about all the things. And in the midst of talking all the time about all the things, you ain't going to talk about the important things. So you have to be, especially in the beginning, you have to be intentional about having conversations like this. And these conversations create what I tend to call guardrails for the relationship. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're talking about each other's behavior, sharing that to each with each other, so that they can actually discover how to fix it, so they don't keep, and I don't want to use poison, but they don't keep kind of like toxifying the relationship, if you will, with this thing. Because let's just be honest, everybody has something that they're trying to get over. Some people got attitude problems. Some people get angry fast, all of this other stuff. So it's okay to have these things. And I think to some people, the word calibration may feel a little harsh. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's okay. It's okay. It's just your perception of it. Just look at it as a regular test. We're testing, not so much as testing, but we're assessing what we're doing for the sake of improvement. And like Unc said, if both people become intentional about doing that, wanting to come to the table for the sake of that, because they know that will improve the relationship, then why not? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, that's my day one conversation. We ain't talking about marriage day one. We talking about calibration. This is what I do.
Calibration. Yeah. Because I mean, relationships are like, they're like anything else, man. Like when they, when you get that new tune up and you get the oil change and the tires done pumped up real good and you done flushed out the whole oil system and stuff, like your car run good. You know what I mean? And same thing with our bodies. You know what I mean? When we calibrated, when we had enough sleep, we didn't had enough rest. We got a little money in our pocket. You know what I mean? We didn't got the monkey off our back and all of that stuff. We walk around here happy, smiling. Life is good. We get to play on the game a little bit. You know what I mean? We calibrated, but calibration is like, it's like balancing. It's like being balanced. You know what I'm saying? You gotta rotate these tires. Like relationships, bro. We gotta put that work in. I'm about being proactive on my end. I was reactive before. Now, bro, let's talk about it before we even get to anything. Let's talk about it why it's a very small seed before that seed start to grow. I want to get to it early. I'm 48, man. I ain't 19. I ain't got a whole bunch of years left to be wasting around on, being reactive to everything when I could have had, 5-minute conversation. We didn't talk this thing out. We didn't got calibrated a little bit. So
and Jay, it's not nitpicking, bro. It's just us coming to the conversation. Yeah. And again, like I said, I gave the example of
nitpicking,
but I'm agreeing with Unc. Like once we get this systematically down, and both parties look forward to doing it, we don't have to do it once a quarter. Maybe we do it once every 6 months. Maybe we do it once a year. It depends on the couple. But I don't think that's nitpicking at all. I think that's more so of you just being completely honest and transparent about what you observe in the relationship for the sake of it improving for a more fruitful outcome. If I think too many times we don't do that, okay. Let me, men. I know let women do this right here. I'm not talking to y'all, so don't come for me after this, right? Men, I know y'all fear the emotional response, but you got to get past that. This is a way to get past that. This is a way to where both of you can come to the conversation and you be transparent about what you see, because there are rules in the calibration. Just like there's rules in the meeting at work. The rules are emotional intelligence sets the stage for this conversation to happen, right? It's not that no one is attacking one another. It's that you're just putting information on the table. You're literally laying out objectivity, not subjectivity. Get those subjective phrases out of Turk, because that's not what's going to help. What's going to help is you telling your partner exactly what you observe, and then your partner assessing what you tell them about what they see in you, and then you say, well, that's not what I was trying to do. So now I have to make micro adjustments so that the thing that I'm trying to do will actually work for the good of the relationship. So I don't think that's nitpicking at all.
Yeah, and I'm not wading into the conversation. I understand needs to be had. I think sometimes we can wait till it need to be had it, but I think that can be sometimes too late. I think that's being reactive. That's just my opinion, though.
Nope, I'm with you. I think we got time, man. I think we got time for one more, man. I like
question number 3.
Yeah, this question number 3. I think we got time for one more. I like Crystal's point. I think we may have to incorporate that. That'll be in December, just so y'all know. Okay. How might our approach to relationship change if we prioritize calibration as a fundamental practice? What do you think the outcome would be?
And I think we just talked about it. Um, I think if it's a healthy calibration and it's done in the best interest of both parties, and both parties are in agreement with it, and they enjoy doing it, and they understand the value in it. That's the thing about it. At the end of the day, this calibration thing has to be valuable. The intent is to get better. That's it. The intent behind the calibration is the relationship to get better. So if the calibration is not causing a relationship to get better, then something else needs to be going on. Or something else is going on. So I think, how might our approach to our relationship change if we prioritize calibration? I think that I think that our approach to it, how do I say, it's going to be more welcomed. It's going to be better. I can't figure out the right words to use. But I think you're going to want to do it more because you understand the value that it brings to the overall relationship. So um, I'll leave a lot for Gaddy on the bone today. So he can't say nothing bad about me. There you go, Gaddy. There's a whole bone.
So I'm trying to look up, grab one of my old pastoral care handbooks that I had, um, that I used to use uh, to assist with doing like premarital counseling, right? I, and because when I was in the military, I always get soldiers, oh, can you marry me? Can you marry me? Can you marry me? I'm not doing no makeshift weddings. I'm not doing no spare moments just because if you can go through 6 sessions with me, then we can do a wedding, right? That's I don't charge. I don't think anything that I do and under the umbrella of serving the Most High that I should have to put a fee on it, right? Not saying that you can't or whatever, but I shouldn't have to put a fee on something. But that was just my approach, right? And so one of the I remember my good friends of mine in Hawaii, and they asked, they agreed, they went through the first fact that they agreed. I was like, man, they might do well because most people say, nope, don't want to, just want to get married. Um, and I remember when I asked questions, and each question that I asked, because it wasn't so much of me saying this is what marriage should look like, this is what marriage. It was more of, and I looked at it I guess as you explained the calibration, it kind of like took that approach. Like these are some aspects in some things you're going to meet in marriage. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? So that you are intentional about hearing what the other one's feeling, right? Conversations that you probably didn't have. And I remember asking the question, how much do you expect to spend on your family a month for groceries? My homeboy looked me dead in my eye and said, no more than $150. Man, that girl looked over at him and said, who you feeding for $150? Right? She said, I spend $200 on one store visit. And immediately his mind had started changing. And so to answer the question, like I feel like we would become more intentional and more mature in our approach to relationships because we kind of see where the other one is at and where the other one is going and where I'm at and where I'm going, and we begin to work on the things that are necessary from the beginning. Because I'm assuming you talk about like from the beginning, because you said our approach to relationships. So that's how I'm thinking. Um, so I think it makes us more mature and more intentional in our approach.
Man, didn't I tell you day one? Day one, son. No, I'm joking. But yeah, had to hit him with some of his own language, bro. Um, yeah, absolutely. And I think, Garfield, I was with you when you were talking about, sometimes we may have to look at the calibration. We may have to calibrate the calibration. Sometimes we might need to fine tune, tweak, whatever. Get it to your point. Like I have a 16-point conversation, 16 different functional areas of the relationship that we have conversation about when it comes down to marriage before you get married. Like, what does it look like? What do y'all look like from a psychological standpoint, emotional standpoint, financial standpoint? How do you feel about sex? How do you feel about kids? How do you feel about, all of these different things? All of that is conversation that we have way before they get married. Because here's the deal, make the decision now. You need to understand in the beginning whether or not this is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Because here's the reality of the truth. A lot of people don't unpack those conversations in their phases of, oh, they are my everything. I breathe the air that they breathe. Now stop that and think. Stop that and think. Just put this thing into action. Understand who you're getting involved with. Fine. Go look. I remember back in the days, the old fellas, the senior men. They say, hey, look here, young buck. You need to go look at a mama. Huh? Go look at a mama. You go look at a mama, that'll help you to understand what she gonna look like when she get older. I'm like, okay. And it was hilarious. But I understand what they're saying now. You know what I'm saying? And that's not 100% true, but at least you have a general idea. Now, every woman heard that say, okay, I need to see his daddy now. Let me see what his daddy look like.
And behaviors too.
Behavior is absolutely the thing. That was the point I was going to get to after the perception of it. Look at their behavior. Again, it's not saying that the mother and the daughter's behavior would be identical. The daughter could have done a whole lot of work on themselves. The son could have done a whole lot of work on themselves outside of his father. All of those things can be true. Understanding family dynamics is a thing. I said all that just because that helps us to understand what it looks like when two people come together and trying to navigate this thing called relationship. So when it comes down to our approach as it pertains to calibration as a fundamental practice, it makes us exercise foreshadow. It will make you think about what you're doing, and it will make you think about the potential outcome of what you're doing before you even do a thing. That's the significant piece of having a calibration during the midst of the relationship. Because I'm sitting here listening to you tell me objectively what you see in me. Now I have information and I can move forward and I can think about, oh, that's what she was telling me about. Now I see it. So now that I observe it in my own behavior, now I get the opportunity whenever this situation presents itself again, I can wait, this is what I'm accustomed to doing, but this is what I really want to do. When you start implementing forethought in your relationship, I guarantee you it's going to be a lot more safe marriages. There's going to be a lot more safe relationships. You're going to have relationships that have a lot more intimacy when it comes down to it. You're going to see 70, 80-year-old people walking down the street, holding hands, smiling like they're high school kids again. Why? Because they put in the work. I think too many times what we do is we'll get to the point like, oh, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be a better version of myself. Great. And then when you get in a relationship, you forgot. Oh, the same thing I did to me, I now got to do in the relationship. Yeah, you can be the best version of yourself all you want to. Now you got to do it times two. It's not just about me. I don't care if you got PhD and you're emotionally intelligent. All that sounds great. But you mess around and marry Tyrone, and Tyrone ain't got none of that. Now you got to go back to where Tyrone is. And now y'all have to make the relationship grow to where you thought you were in the beginning. And here's the sad part about it. Tyrone might teach you a little something about yourself too. So that's it, man. Forethought is it for me.
Come on, Tyrone. So so when you have those, we say 16.9 talking points.
Did you just call out? What is that, pie?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying is so those were, just so what you saying is probably those would probably be some of the things that we continue to talk about throughout the relationship. Because like I said, people change, we involved. So where we were having relations at day 1 may not be the same at day 10. But I don't want to wait till it's been 3 months before we start having this conversation. I want to have the conversation way before. Say, hey, is everything okay? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. Blah, blah, blah. okay, maybe something going on. Maybe about to hit menopause. Maybe something else going on. Maybe somebody need to have a conversation. Maybe it's me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm mean. Maybe it's something in myself that I don't see. So like I said, I know we talking about calibration a lot tonight. But I think for some reason we own it tonight as far as keep talking about that. It's somebody y'all here needs some calibration in their relationship or something. Or for some, because I don't remember a lot of conversations right now as I'm thinking about just on calibration.
Right.
And maybe it's called something different, but going back and having these assessments, we talk a lot. We have talked a lot about over the last 3 years on different shows about self-reflection and building up self, but not really when it comes to calibrating, the relationship. So I think that's very important. I'm glad we was on calibration for a long time. We got a lot of different perspectives about it and stuff, So yeah, I think, those 16.9 POIs, points of interest that you got over there that you be talking about, I think, those can kind of be guidelines for those calibration conversations. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where are we at right now? And I know, things are a little different. I'm a little older. I'm a little grayer. You're a little older. You picked up a couple little pounds. You know what I mean? Just things that go on in the relationship as time goes on. So I think I don't know. I think it's really important to have those.
And to your point, you're right. Like that's literally how it works. When we have these 16 different talking points, it give two people the opportunity to really get after who they're getting involved with. And then sometimes what you'll find is that, well, we need to probably push our date to the right. In fact, let's just take it off the table for now so we can continue to learn, because I had no idea you was this bad with money. I had no idea that you had like a history of psychological, trauma in your family, whatever that looks like. But then to your point, then we talk about the calibration. Like, what does that look like going forward? So now these, like you said, these become part of the talking points when you start talking about certain things about calibration. If it's money, let's talk about money every quarter, right? Not just, and that's a whole different plateau, right? Talk about goals, aspirations, milestones, all that other great stuff. But what if it's something that you can't put on the gold standard, like the frequency of sex, and just being transparent? Like that is a conversation that people need to have, and they don't have it. Like men, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Men, see this dude here, he hit it saying, let's have it.
It's getting
Men in their mind, they're like, yeah, I want to have sex all the time. No, you don't. Especially if she has a high drive. She will suck you dry like a raisin. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna tell you the goddamn truth. I'm just being real. Y'all don't hate me. I'm just
like a raisin.
like a raisin. So, there has to be some time in between. So if you don't have those conversations in the beginning, then what are you doing? What are you getting after? Like you're hoping that the way that you behave with a thing becomes acceptable, and that's the wrong way to go anything. So it's just I'm glad you said that, but it's like a number of different conversations that need to be had before you get into that type of relationship. And then if you don't come to any type of understanding or resolution on any particular talking point, now you have to come to the table and say, this is worth calibrating. Or in some people's cases, like, this ain't worth my time or my peace. I got to go. And it happens. You can't get mad at a person if that's if they choose that for their life.
Yeah.
So we need to address that one part in part two, because you know, and not in my experience per se, but in most conversations I have, I hear the same thing over and over again. It starts off with a consistent drive, and then it
I knew that's
dives.
what he was talking about.
So
I don't
I'm just
know. I don't know if you want to have. Listen, I don't know if you want to have that conversation in part two, bro. I'm just saying.
I mean,
and Roland gonna be back too.
Roland gonna be back
when it's just us.
Hey, I need to get a commitment from the hearts of women if they're gonna make it. So I need to, we gonna put that as one of the questions though. Listen, man. I think this conversation was good. I hope somebody found value in it. We're gonna kind of do real quick final thoughts, because I really want to hear what these brothers got to say. Brother Gaddy, we're gonna give you the floor first. I ain't gonna do anything formal, man, because it's already at 1:30. I mean, at what 1:30, an hour and 30 minutes. So I kind of want to let everybody go in a measurable amount of time. So, bro, you got the floor. Go ahead.
Oh man, so I'm gonna keep it quick and keep it easy. We have to know ourselves. I think that's the first part of dating, right? If you're new to the dating scene, or if you're new back in the dating scene, or what have you, spend this time relearning you, because you don't look like how you used to look. And I'm not talking about in the physical, but you don't look like how you used to look. So get to know you, understand you, work on what you feel you need to work on for you. And then when you go and explore these options of courting or dating, let time work is work, right? As the scripture said, let patience work her perfect work, right? Because it's there to shape us, it's there to perfect us. So if that means that next relationship ends fast, or it lasts long and you marry fast, whatever, or if it means that you date for a while and you grow and then you marry, however it be, let it have its place. But know when the time is right. If it ain't right, don't move. That's all. That's really all I got. I got, and let the relationship continue to work as you continue to grow.
The question and the topic tonight, we talked about how to build lasting connections without regret. Man, we talked a lot tonight about calibration, so I want to kind of continue on that for my final thought. And it may be kind of beating the dead horse a little bit, but it may be new to someone else listening. So at the end of the day, anything that we want to be successful at, we have to spend time with it. We want a relationship with the Father, we have to spend time with them. Um, we have conversations and saying, hey, we have conversations with ourselves and say, hey, how am I doing? Am I doing the best that I can? Am I being the best version of myself for my family, for my kids? Or am I just being the best version of myself for myself and as a citizen in this country, in my city, and in my state? When it comes to relationships and calibrations, it's so important because that's how we can see things before they become a lot bigger. Just like with our car, when you go and get regular oil changes, when you go and get regular tire rotations, when you do this maintenance or these calibrations to make sure that everything is working at its best performing, at its best performance, then your car will tend to run longer. A lot of us know some old guy in our neighborhood who has some old car. He would bring it out only on Sundays, and he drive around and he clean that joker up and wax it up, put Armor All on the tires, have his curb filler sticking out, and all of the other stuff. But that car still run, and he's still driving it. That's because he did a whole bunch of maintenance and a whole bunch of calibrations on that vehicle. The same thing you can apply to your relationship. Apply maintenance on it, go back and assess it, see where things in the relationship needs to be adjusted, make the adjustments, and keep moving forward with their relationships. So that is how I think that partly how people can build lasting connections without regret.
Man, that was really good. I want to start off by saying stop listening to social media for relationship advice. I think that's the best space to be. It confuses the average person. It just keeps stockpiling information on top of information, and you hear what this person say, and this person does this, and this person does that, and this person has this degree, and this person has been this, and this person has this title that they made up in the garage when they came from the grocery store, and they started calling themselves that, but they have literally no credential. Like, stop listening to those people. You don't know if those people have any credentials or any evidence that says that what they're talking about works. That's what I want to start with. Because at the end of the day, it sounds really good. But how many people have you ever met that is going to abide by the rules of the information you got from social media? Next to no one. because no one wants to be a slave in their own relationship. That's why I talk about relationship the way that's why we talk about relationship the way that we do. Relationship is not a thing to where it puts you in bondage. Relationship can be liberating if you do it the right way. My responsibility in my relationship with the Most High is my behavior. I am responsible for how I behave. I am responsible for what I do. I am responsible for all those things. Well, it doesn't change when we now bring in a new relationship. My responsibility in my marriage was for my behavior, for me to do the things that I'm called to do in that marriage, in that relationship. So now everybody in the family benefits from me being a responsible person because I still represent him, even though I am in that marriage. And that's why I want to end, because this conversation I think is good. I think we're gonna do it, man. I think we're gonna go ahead and bring the hearts of women, if they're willing to come, bring the hearts of women into part two. It's going to be interesting. Listen, if you guys are available tomorrow morning at 10:30, reframing the image of relationship, I am sure that that's going to be a very interesting conversation, because it's really going to sound a lot like this one. And again, of course, TikTok, 10 TikTok 11:30 on Sunday morning. We got a TikTok live, and then 2:30. I'm gonna bring it. Y'all, boy, y'all rough, boy. I may have to get my sword and my shield for that conversation, bro. And then of course, Bible study at 2 p.m. Listen, we appreciate you guys. We think you guys are awesome. Thank you for joining us every Friday night. We do not take that lightly. And we just want you to know that. Say it out, say it loud, and say it proud. Listen, you guys have the best version. Just enjoy the rest of your evening, and let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.